My name is Josie, and I am a senior here at USD. The border has always been very present in my life. My dad immigrated from Mexico when he was really young, and so I have family on both sides of the border. It's always been something that I knew about but didn't really understand the implications of in the way that I do now that I've been at USD. One of my closest friends, who I'd known since third grade, was detained for not having papers. He had come to the U.S. when he was 2 years old, and I had known him for most of my life. And in that moment, it really hit home, the implications of the border and the realization that he might be shipped back to a country that he hadn't really known. And this was the moment where wanting to be more active in my work around border issues really clicked for me. And that spring, I went on Tijuana Spring Break with University Ministry and really got a wider knowledge of the history of the border and the implications that the border has for all kinds of people, not just my personal family.
The U.S.-Mexico border spans 2,000 miles, from the San Diego-Tijuana border to Brownsville, Texas, and Matamoros. 500 miles of the fence have a physical border separating the two countries. This reality has pushed thousands of immigrants out into the desert, where they cross through horrendous conditions. The border as we know it was created in 1848 at the end of the Mexican-American War. The first fence was built in the 90s. The second fence was completed in 2005. The fences separate two countries that were once fluid and welcoming neighbors. It has not always been this way. It does not have to continue to be this way. People immigrate for many reasons, the most common being economic and family reunification. Since 2001, there have been 5,000 confirmed deaths. Most of these human beings who died were parents looking to be able to provide better lives for their families, children looking to be reconnected with their parents, and families attempting to be reunited. Those who do arrive in the United States are faced with the reality of inhumane working conditions and the constant fear of deportation. Deportation also leaves families separated, families where parents are undocumented and children are U.S. citizens. The myth is that those who want to come to the United States should get in line. They should do it legally. There is no line to stand in to enter the United States legally, especially for the poor. The reality is that thousands of people, thousands of our human sisters and brothers, have died in an attempt to live a better life. As the daughter of an immigrant from Mexico and as a woman born and raised in San Diego, I am no stranger to the border. Like all other immigrants and children of immigrants, I have stories of hope, stories of heartbreak, stories of fear, stories of triumph, and stories of separation.
In April of this year, Border Angels put on an event for International Children's Day, and a man was there who actually was undocumented, and his daughter was on the other side of the border. And I didn't know the details of the story, but he just happened to be there, and his daughter was there at the exact same moment. So Enrique Morones, who's in charge of Border Angels, decided to set up a reunion between the two of them, and I got to witness that interaction between a father who had actually never met or gotten to hug his daughter until that moment, and so they opened the gate that separates Tijuana and San Diego and allowed the two to embrace for a brief moment. And it was a really powerful experience because in that moment I really saw hope for people to be able to reunite with their families who are on both sides of the border, regardless of papers, regardless of their status in the United States. But at the same time, it was definitely heartbreaking because they hugged for a brief moment and then the gate was closed and the two were separated again. Border Angels has a shirt, and on the back it says, "Who would Jesus deport?" And when I watched the father and daughter reunite at the border, it really got me thinking about this quote and about another quote that Enrique Morones says that is, "Friendship has no borders and love has no borders." It made me think about the way that God has no borders and the way that these borders are really human-made. They're put up by people to separate people from one another, but they haven't always been there and they don't need to be there. And that gave me hope for the future and the way that we can fix the relationship between the United States and Mexico.